Do you have a mental block when you hear words like stock market, shares, stockbroker? Welcome to the Genesis, where we'll help you break down these terms and you realize they're not so complex after all. Okay, imagine a stock market like a big store where people buy and sell tiny pieces of companies. When you buy a piece, you become a little owner of that company and you're called a shareholder. Now, this is done through a public offer. So if the company does well, the value of your piece goes up, and if it doesn't, it might go down. So people try to make good choices to grow their pieces and make more money.
Investment in the stock market is long term, and for those that are new to the market, they need to have that understanding. It's not a market to come in and you quickly want to make money in few days and step out.
Companies use this avenue to grow and sustain their businesses by giving up a certain amount of control in exchange for cash. An example is the federal government's acquisition of 20% stake in the Dangote refinery. Now, this will give the government a say on the board of the refinery.
So no country will allow any venture of this nature to exist without having a seat on the board of a company like this.
People often ask if there's a difference between a share and a stock. Of course there is. Stock represents the holder's part ownership in one or several companies, while share refers to a single unit of ownership in a company. So remember the big store analogy we used earlier? For example, if X acquires a single unit of a company's ownership from that store, that's known as a share. But if X buys ownership of one or several pieces of companies from that store, that's stock. So if you say X has invested in stocks, it could mean that X has a portfolio of shares across different companies. Oftentimes, rising share prices, for instance, tend to be associated with increased business investment and vice versa. Share prices also affect the wealth of households and their consumption. And this is why central banks tend to keep an eye on the control and behavior of the stock market, and in general, on the smooth operation of financial system functions. In Nigeria, that big store we talked about is the Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, an arm of the Nigerian Exchange Group, which was previously known as the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and its activities regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission, an agency which was cut out of the Central Bank of Nigeria. It has a representative of the CBN as its board chairman. I'm sure now you have an inkling of what goes on in that field. And oh, there are stockbrokers too. Remember the big store again? So these are like agents who understand the theatrics of the big store, that's the stock market, and they simply help buyers and sellers with their transactions in exchange for a commission. Watch other episodes of The Genesis by scanning the barcode right here.